help at Elimination Chamber. Ticket sales are a little slow.
And I need Cody to give up his soul. Welcome back to Fog Wrestling The Rock. The Rock, what happened to this guy? Honestly, I don't even know what to make of this interview, what he did on the Pat McAfee show. There's a million things wrong with it, but before we even dive into it, let's hear his reasoning why he decided to come back at the Elimination Chamber, shall we?
But beyond that, he goes, what we are finding is with Elimination Chamber, it's become the pay-per-view that's been interesting. Fans have had fun, but it's also the conduit to WrestleMania. And how do we create a Elimination Chamber that people must tune in?
So, let's not get it twisted. The Rock's practically saying that Ari Emanuel begged him to come back because of slow ticket sales for the Chamber. I talked about this yesterday, right? It's like, you actually look at the road to WrestleMania. Imagine how much worse it would be if there was no Cody decision at the Chamber. If there was no Cena heel turn at the Chamber. What was Cody Rhodes doing at the Chamber? Hell, what did Gunther do at the Chamber? World champions doing nothing, right? Doing absolutely nothing. And people can say, oh, but The Rock messed everything up. Cena was supposed to face Gunther. So what was Gunther doing going into Elimination Chamber? He should have been defending that in one of the Chamber matches, but no, we can't do that because we need to give you a women's Chamber. We can't give you a number one contenders men and a world titles men, even though that's what everyone wants. Who's fucking sitting there seriously wanting to actually pretend that they want a women's? You know what I mean? The danger is if you get a men's number one contender and a title win, they'll be like, oh, but you need to do that for the women. Oh, and we can't do three, because three would be absolutely overkill. I mean, I think there is a genuine case to say that two is overkill. But why are we pretending that everything The Rock did here was complete and utter sabotage? Because could you imagine that chamber, Elimination Chamber, without the heel turn, without The Rock and Cody Rhodes' decision? It would be absolutely awful. It did get buzz, and here, it did get ticket sales, but the problem with it is that Triple H says, good stories create ticket sales. Stories get people to tune in. Stories get people to sit in seats at the arenas and watch the product. So, pretty much what The Rock has did here, he's went on the Pat McAfee show and absolutely buried Triple H and basically, you know, indirectly, but pretty much said, this guy doesn't have a fucking clue what he's doing. Ticket sales were doing on the road to WrestleMania. So, in order to get them back up, we had to include my character, The Rock, against Cody Rhodes with a proposition and also factor in a wee Cena heel turn in there with a wee bow on top. Problem for me is, right, that's all fine, Dwayne. You never actually said you'd be at Mania. That's on us, right? We're idiots. We're idiots for believing you'd do that. But look at the state of this, right? On the same Pat McAfee show, you've got Pat McAfee, right, addressing Gunther's attack on Raw, keeping kayfabe. The other day, you had Paul Heyman keeping kayfabe on it, right? Then you've got John Cena keeping kayfabe, but then breaking it. And then on The Rock here, he's like, you know, he's simply talking about heel turn this, WrestleMania that. And it's perfect. How can the Pat McAfee show have guys keeping kayfabe, right? And then not keeping kayfabe? And he went on to speak about Cody Rhodes, saying he's going to have another babyface run with the championship, then he's going to turn heel. Why is the Rock telling us that? You know what I mean? I just don't understand it. We're going to get into his quotes in a minute, but honestly, see the past couple of weeks. Well, I mean, let's be honest. 2025 has been an absolute mess for WWE, but in terms of the last couple of weeks, it's been an absolute fucking disaster. In the PR department. So let's actually just hear what Pat McAfee said about Gunther. And I quote, thank you for all the positive prayers and vibes for this here neck. Gunther snatched up and choked me out on Raw after Mania. I went to a local medical facility in Vegas, thought I might have something with the C2 or C3, something in the neck because of how I felt. But then they said I was okay. I certainly lost consciousness as the entire world watched on. Shout out to the boys jumping the barricade. I do have questions. All that security is focused on the boys. I'd be focused too. Ty was going to get some. Boston Connor was going to get gnaw and Achilles. D-Bone actually puked ringside. He almost ran through 4 to 5 guys. I appreciate you getting in there as I was blindsided trying to stick up for Cole as this Austrian asshole attacked me. There are security, and there's nobody helping as I'm getting my life choked out of me. What am I supposed to do? I found out quickly there isn't much to do with Gunther has that thing on you. I feel like my body's slithering away. You kind of disappear from existence. End of quote. He did go on to mention like Michael Cole, but who cares about Michael Cole, right? Oh, Joe Testori taking his jacket off. Oh, it's fucking brilliant. So, my problem with this is, why is Pat McAfee speaking in kayfabe, right? On the Pat McAfee show, and then he interviews The Rock like 2 minutes later, and The Rock breaks kayfabe. Like just talking about booking, talking about scripts, talking about the plans that got changed and this and that, ticket sales being done, so we writ this into the script. And there's people out there that don't have a problem with that. I mean, how do you look at what The Rock's actually doing here and not have a problem with it? It's fucking ridiculous to say the least. Now, that's what The Rock had to say regarding the Elimination Chamber. And I quote, I did feel, and I made the call, I don't want to be involved in that. Let the final boss step back into the shadows. Let all the spotlight go to John and Cody. Let's not make it about Cody's soul or John's soul. Let them do what they do. I called John and Cody after the chamber. I said, I think the final boss work's done. We just pulled off the greatest angle in the history of professional wrestling. I'm always here if you need me, but it's best for the final boss not to be involved in that finish. End of quote. Right, so hold on. The Rock says it's best for the final boss not to be involved in that finish, but it's alright for Travis Scott to be involved in that finish. I mean, Cena winning dirty doesn't really get affected if The Rock's out there or not, but Cena winning dirty with Travis Scott, it just comes across as fucking cheap and pathetic, man. Honestly, Cena would have been as well just winning dirty without Travis Scott. That's the reality. He should have just won dirty without Travis Scott's help, but no, they're trying to force Travis Scott as a part of this storyline, and it's pathetic. And The Rock saying, oh, I phoned them up after the chamber and said, you guys won't be needing me. You guys won't be needing me. But Cena fucking disappeared for about a month after the chamber, so I don't think they need it. I don't think they need it Cena either. But the amount of kayfabe that's getting broken here on Pat McAfee's show, right? And then The Rock justifying his reasons, and you know what's actually incredible, right? See if The Rock just didn't appear on this show and didn't do any of these shows, or did them and kept kayfabe, right? He wouldn't have to address it. That is the get out of jail free card. Don't break kayfabe, and therefore you don't have to address not appearing there. But if you do address not appearing, you can just cut a final boss promo as a heel. It's like, why the fuck would I turn up to Vegas? Bunch of degenerates. John had it covered with Travis. You know what I mean? But no, instead he breaks kayfabe and talks about script this, script that. Oh, we planned that. Oh, we didn't like that. We pulled that. I mean, honestly, man, wrestling is fucking dead. He went on to speak about Cody. He said, and I quote, they had 6 weeks to plan for that. I loved the finish of the match. I would have finessed things a little differently on how they got there, but that's just me creatively. Ultimately, the bottom line is, John gets 17. I never had a concern about John pulling this off. My thoughts were always to Cody, and we've established with him and his story the kind of babyface that he is. If done right, finessed right, and no one's right, down the road, that guy not only has an incredible run against as babyface champion, but also an unheard run as a heel down the road. End of quote. So, basically saying here, he's going to be champion later down the line, and then he'll be a heel one. Why? What the what? This is why wrestling will never be good, man. See this breaking kayfabe stuff, it takes you at the moment. Honestly. See what The Rock says here, or what Triple H says in pressers? That should be the stuff they speak about behind the scenes that we never hear. You know what I mean? Well, that's what it should be. It should never be, see back in the day when they had, JR, Briscoe, Patterson, Hayes, Laurinaitis, the guy with the tennis racket, Bruce Pritchard, right? And McMahon. Would it have been cool, right? Right here in 2025 to hear one of those meetings behind the scenes? Yeah. But see back in '99, I didn't want to hear that. I mean, I wasn't even born, but you get my point. You get my point. You don't want to. You want to live in the moment. We know it's no fucking real, but at least let's pretend that everyone in it lives in this bubble that it is real, and therefore we believe a wee bit more, and it feels a bit more authentic. The Rock, they can fix this, man. Kayfabe can be brought back, but what The Rock's doing, he's butchering the business. You know what I mean? He could have just appeared on this show in character, like McAfee did with Gunther. But then you get McAfee in character, then The Rock after it. It's completely breaking kayfabe. It's fucking ridiculous, man. And people don't have a problem with this. You have to be blind or mentally challenged. I've got a feeling a lot of people are that these days when it comes to pro wrestling. But anyway, leave your thoughts down below. We'll be back later, no doubt about it. Till then, peace.